Do do ba do do. How are you guys? We are back once again. That is not the correct album. 1 second, let's just jump over to YouTube. And 1 moment. Huh. That's interesting. Okay, never mind. I'm going to ignore that. Okay, so you all may be wondering, hey, what's going on with Project Vuperia? Because I said that I was going to be doing major things with it. Well, I was not lying, believe it or not. I was not an absolute liar. I did more code work than I could ever want to do. Like, I genuinely enjoy it, but it got a little bit ridiculous. But the outcome is, well, yeah, it works. So let's look at where we are. Bam. Let's do this. So we're gonna fall out of the sky, and there's World Gen. And this is using GPU noise generation, which was extremely fun to get working. A lot of tinkering has been put into making it fast and look slightly good. Currently, it's very round. I'm going to add another layer of noise to it to roughen it up a bit. But, as you can see, heck, it actually looks like something. And the best part is, there's currently 4 layers. The important ones are, there's only 3 important ones really, which is the continents, which it builds giant continents, which if I can find a ocean off in the distance, we will be able to prove that. The second one is a little bit of fluctuation to the continents, which adds these smooth plains. And then the third important one is the mountains. And then the mountains actually have a 4th noise applied to them, which causes them to not be super ridiculous in everywhere and to go down in some parts of the continent and up in the others. In general, it's working pretty well, and it doesn't look completely bad. I mean, it could use some work. I have to do some tweaks. But after adding some decoration to it, I think it would look good enough to pass off. But I'm going to add a little bit more fine-tuning to it because I'll admit, it looks kind of, you know... Silly, if you make a better texture, I will use it. I said like 80 times in the game dev thing. I am no artist. I make things work. I will accept any art given to me for the game as long as it fits. As long as all the art fits together with a style, it's fine. And the noise, I don't know how I'm gonna get noises. Should I just walk outside and record the sound of it? Because that seems kind of, yeah. But, to be clear, we've been walking pretty far. I told you these continents are pretty big. I wanted them to be pretty much, well, continent size. There's a nice mountain. We will go up that mountain. That's not really a mountain. This is more of a big hill. There are very impressive mountains, but they're kind of hard to find. I'm also going to be adding biomes soon, depending on height and moisture, but that's going to take a little bit of time. So we're going to hop around until we find the oceans so that I can prove that the continent system is actually working. There's a little hill range here. Thank you, Elflux, for the $2 super chat. I appreciate it. Everything helps. This project, oh, I didn't even show you guys everything I've done. Hey, look at this. Items are a thing. The inventory is a thing. Yeah, these are all things that work. You can hold things in your hand. Block breaking properly works with items coming out of it. Different materials can't be broken with different tools and stuff. Your fist is slower, or it's supposed to be. I'm having some trouble with that. Probably just need to send it update when I go on to nothing. but that's fine. I will work on that. Is it slow now? No. Huh. That's an interesting issue. I will solve that in the future. Thank you, Doug and Ian, for another $2 super chat. I appreciate it. It is very helpful. Okay, also, obviously, we've already had this, but we have block placing. If you don't try to... I may increase the range a little bit, but we can build a little house out of dirt. The dev environment is so laggy. I promise, this hits 400 FPS in a true test. This is just kind of, dead. Because it's dev. The Unity environment only lets it hit like 20% of its capacity, which is, it's good enough for testing, but it gets quite stuttery. Come on. Come on. If you want to send me a texture, all you have to do is join our Discord. The link is in the description of this stream. Man, this is a big continent. This has got to be one of the bigger ones that I've ever tried to walk across. This is pretty ridiculous. The interesting thing about programming like this is I don't know what it's going to be like until I actually look at it. And then, so it's flickering. I know why it's doing that. I can solve that in the future. I'm not going to bother right now, though. This is about World Gen. Oh man, where is the ocean? Now, water does not look like water. That's something we may do during this stream too. Make water look like water, which that's going to take a bit of shader magic and making sub-meshes, but it'll be worth it. It'll make everything look a lot better. I need to make mountains look a bit rougher. I need to do that. I need to fix this glitch where it gets really... I can probably fix that right now. It has to do... See, this is annoying because... Oh, I said this is 0.2 before, but it undid it. See, that's better now. At 0.2. Oh, it's still a little bit. If I set it to where it was before... Is it better? See, that's a problem because if you set that, I can look through blocks. But I'm gonna find solutions to everything. Probably setting the head further within the player object is a valid solution to that problem, so I'm not going to be too worried about that. Okay, so we have been running across here for quite a while. I think I have the run speed and jump up ridiculously high so that it's faster to do this, and it's still not enough. This is actually, impressive. We've went really far. Craziness. Come on! Give me an ocean! So that I can convince people that I'm actually on a continent. They'll think this is just endless land at this point. Not only is it a continent, it's actually pretty high up. The generation is all done on the GPU, which is the real impressive part of this. It doesn't kill the CPU at all, so it's like the fastest you can make it. Unless, of course, if you're running on integrated graphics, I'm not sure if it would be a bottleneck. Obviously, you gotta there's trade-offs to everything, but GPU noise is much faster than CPU noise. Wow. And as I said, you'll notice that at some points it's plains and at others it gets very mountainy. That's because of that fourth noise I apply to it. And all of them work together to make it very nice. Nice enough that I'm actually, comfortable with it. But why on earth is it taking so long to find the ocean? Jeez. This is actually getting excessive. I may just have to, like, stop the game and restart it and hope that I land either in the ocean or on another continent, because this continent is really big. This is, like, really, really big. Come on. I'll give it another, like, 30 seconds, then we're actually getting to programming, because this is getting ridiculous now. It's a little bit much. I think it's fair to say I was having problems before where you couldn't go into the negatives or it started generating the terrain in one dimension. That was fun to fix. I got really confused. I did not understand how it was going into other dimensions, but it had to do with the type of integers I was using. They couldn't go negative, so then it got set to 0, which made things look very strange in different quadrants of the world. Now, it does have a limitation, because of floating point numbers, just like any other game, once you get to the 3 trillion range, instead of being 1 block, it starts generating things in groups of 4 blocks, which looks pretty cool. Pretty much the equivalent of the Farlands on Minecraft. There's just nothing you can do about it. Computers aren't meant to process floats that large, so I kind of have to deal with that limitation. Oh my, jeez, can you please give me an ocean game? Testing creating a game like this is frustrating because you actually have to play it for a long time to see that everything's going well. Because everything's random to a point, and because everything's random, you have no clue what it's going to look like. I created some tools for myself to help with it, but it's pretty extensive. This is actually getting annoying. I will be honest, this is much... Okay, we're going on to a different continent. I'm not bothering with this any longer. Let's see. Place me on the ocean or something. Okay, there's a mountain there. Mountains there. Are we at least close to an ocean? I also have to make it so that it won't... I mean, I guess landing in the middle of the ocean wouldn't be too... I can't give away too much about how the game's going to start, because I have a plan in mind for everything. There is so much to do on this game. Everyone keeps asking, what's going to make it unique? Well, I'd love to tell you, but I don't want to spoil everything yet. There's so much stuff to do that I'm just going to kind of show you guys as I add it so that people don't pester me like, have you finished this yet? Have you finished this yet? No. I have a checklist. I'm going through the simple stuff first, and once I have the outline for the game done, I'm going to add the fancy stuff. And the basic engine includes world generation, because that's a huge part of it. Okay, come on, there's got to be an ocean somewhere. Like, this is getting... I mean, there's a 50% chance of me starting in the ocean, I guess. Almost 50%. That is a mountain. Joke's on me. I didn't notice, but ocean generation just isn't working. No. Because the continents are like giant plateaus, so I'd still notice a giant hole somewhere. I'm just getting very unlucky. Very unlucky. Yes! Okay, so we've actually gotten onto a coastline. Yes, the ocean is solid. Like I said, I need to work on water. Currently, this is just a placeholder block for water. But, as you can see, we've got the coast. And if we run up the coast, we see that it's a huge continent going in. But there's my proof for you guys. If I go out in this direction, I'll have to run a bit before hitting another continent. Oof, my computer does not like this. Like I said, the editor. Oh, that's actually pretty close together. So those two continents are pretty close, which happens. It's completely random, so... The oceans, the beauty. Yes, it is ice. No, it'll be water soon. There, I think I've proven my point. There's more land up here. But this does technically take place on Spook Vooper, so it's very islandy, continenty. But there you go. There is the basic gist of it. I can decrease the size of continents if I really want, but I kind of like how it is right now. I actually only have to touch one number to change that, so let's talk about how this is actually programmed. Now, if we jump into our shaders, no, compute shaders, this right here is run on the graphics card, and this is what generates the numbers for the heights. This looks pretty complicated, probably to most people, but what's really important are these four, which is just about to become 5, because we need to create a fine detail. So we've got mountain, we've got, well, rigid is actually the mountain. It's kind of, it's complicated. But we're going to add a fine detail. And yes, this is the person who made the sewage thing in City Skylines. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this detail layer, we're going to steal it, and then we're going to make a new version of it. This is going to be the mountain fine detail. We'll just put it on the bottom. I'll clean it up. I'll clean it up in the future. So mountain fine detail, blah, 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 blah. Equals Perlin normal, and we just have to do... Did I even... No, I didn't. That's a great question. Okay, so let me show you guys how noise works. When we're messing with stuff like this, here's my test objects. I'm using noise on these. So this is noise. Now you'll realize that the white refers to high areas and the black refers to dark areas. So if we want to create really fine noise, we have to get the... I'm not going to pronounce this right, I'm just going to be honest. I just call it the lacanarity because that's what it looks like. Complicated word, but if we turn this up, or is it down? Yes, if we turn this up, it gets smaller. So if we want fine detail, we want to turn this up. Now, to do that, all we have to do is jump over here, and these are all mixed along with the seed and the position of the chunk and stuff, so we know what we're doing. And here's that number right there. So we're going to make that 5 times as much. Actually, let's make it 10 times as much, because we want these details to be very small. Now, we're going to multiply this with the result of what we have for the mountains already. Of course, it's not actually... Oh, never mind. Sorry for judging you, game. I was actually typing that in incorrectly. Okay, so now if we pop this on, we're going to see it's going to be different. Yeah. There's the difference. Now, this doesn't look very good. I know. But there's the fine details. But they're kind of everywhere. And they're very large details, actually. They have a lot of power. So we're going to close this, and we're going to decrease the amount they affect things. So we will do times 0.2. So we'll take 1/5 of that. We only want it to affect the mountains. We don't want it to be touching the main area, really. So now we get these weird little dots, which I don't really like that. That's not exactly what we wanted. But it does have a little bit of character. I'm not sure. You guys can say if you like it or not. But what's important is if we find a mountain, it'll really affect it. Wow, that's a lot of noise. It's everywhere. Jeez. Find me a mountain. Find me a mountain. When I said you guys tell me if you like it more, you're supposed to actually tell me. I'm not sure. It looks a little bit rugged, like too much. Now it looks unnatural. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. Like, it just looks very meh. I think it could do with like not touching the normal, but I need to see what effect it has on the mountains. So we need to find a mountain, which I think we will find in due time. Maybe not. Maybe not. I could too, instead of multiplying, add it, which will give it a little bit, it'll give it a lot less power. But maybe that's what we want. No, let's try adding that instead. So if we jump back here, we can do, instead of this, we can add this. And then we're going to have to multiply this by how many blocks we want to be able to change. So we'll let it change it by a total of 3 blocks. We'll let it deviate it by that much. So now it shouldn't really affect the normal ground. No, it doesn't. But it should give a little bit of character to the mountains. Now let's see if we're right here. Yes, it adds a tiny bit. You can see it's not completely even, but it's still pretty round. So we're gonna want to give it a little bit more power. We're in a very mountainy area, so good place to test it. You can see it's doing things like this, where it just gets rid of a tiny bit. But that's not really what we want. Actually, I know why we had a, we couldn't see any mountains before, because I was multiplying it by that times that, which is a really small number, which meant that it was getting rid of everything. Yeah, that wasn't very smart. So let's actually just multiply it by this in general. This may give us some really strange effects, but let's see what it does. Multiplying by a fine detail like this does very... Okay, so now we can see that it is, yeah, messing with that a little bit, but where are the mountains? The mountains are gonna look really weird now. Maybe even non-existent. Like I said, this is a part of testing with this stuff. It can... You don't know what you're gonna get. You have an idea of what you're gonna get, but then once you do it, it can be completely separate from what you thought. And it looks like in this case, this is not at all what we wanted. Oh, geez, I know why too. We aren't... This has negative numbers, which makes no sense. Okay, so this needs to be normalized, which this is the code right here to normalize it, so we'll just do this. H mountain fine detail equals it times a half plus a half. That normalizes it, which means it brings it within 0 and 1 and gets rid of all the negative numbers. Negative numbers will act strange. Yes! Look at that! That's exactly what I wanted it to do. You see how it roughs up the mountains? Now they actually look mountainous. That looks pretty awesome. Look at that. Yes or no? Put your votes in right now. We'll see what you guys think. I just need to wait until you guys see it. Yeah? You think that looks good? I think that looks much better. It really gives a lot of character to the mountains. They don't look just like triangles. They're bumpy. They look like they've been ripped apart a bit. Thank you, Silly. I appreciate it. I think that looks good. Even the little hills you can see are kind of ragged. But this gives us a little bit of work to do on the normal ground, because you'll see that this looks exactly the same still. We have to use a slightly finer detail to attack this, though, because we can't have the normal ground completely bumpy. So that looks good. I am liking that. See, playing with noise like this is one of the most fun things you can do with programming, because you can make some really fun things out of it. You just have to spend some time messing around. Okay, so next we have to add some noise, so we can just copy this, and we're gonna call it continent fine detail. H continent fine detail, and then we're just going to do the same exact thing pretty much, except we're going to add it to this, multiply the continent by it. So now we just have to do this. Now you guys are going to learn very quickly that this really isn't that complicated to do. This is trial, error, and some math. Heck, you can find this code. Lots of it is stuff that I got off of the public domain. Because no, I'm not a brilliant mathematician. I'm a coder, not a mathematician. But the fun about this is that we can make amazing things out of it. So here's what we got. What we're gonna do is we're going to turn this down. We're gonna set this to 0.05, and then we're going to go over here, and instead of feeding this directly into here, okay, what are we doing here? So we're adding this and this. Okay, so H continent equals that plus that, and then we just have to multiply. Oh geez, this has a lot of effects in a lot of ways, so we're not going to do that. We're going to do, because this ranges up like 1,000 blocks, so we don't want to mess with the main continent. What we want to mess with, I wonder what'll happen if we multiply it. It'll get really messy. It'll get really messy. But if we multiply, no. If we multiply that, stretch it out. Okay, so something that I was having trouble with is we don't have enough variation in the height other than the mountains. So instead we're going to multiply the continent by this Perlin noise, but we're going to stretch out the Perlin noise to make it less extreme. So we're going to do that. This is probably going to freak... Oh, shoot. That isn't even... That... Okay, so we need to add them together. We actually need to put this here. So this is going to do something really interesting. It's probably going to make the land really high. Yep. Yep. So what we have to do is kill this. Here's the ocean. How far down is the ground? Am I just... Yeah, maybe I'm just a little bit... Yeah, I'm just in the middle of the ocean. Oh, shoot. So, this is when it gets complicated because we have... So, the mountains look good. I am happy with how the mountains look. I just have to make sure I'm happy with everything else because once this terrain generation is down... Well, the thing is, it goes from 0 to 1, so it can also multiply the land by, like, 0.001, so it can also be really, really low now. We've given it a wide range of variation. Actually, it's going to make it almost always really, really low. That's a flaw in my logic. It should either go to 0 to 1. It should go 0 to 2, so it can either double it or make it tiny. Right? No. Yes. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna do this, time this, and then we're gonna do times H per lin times 2. This is gonna give it a little bit more punch. Okay, so it looks like everything is very low now, which is slightly worrying. Here we go, here's some land. So we can see we have some issues. So we've got our really nice mountains, but they are sticking up way more than the actual continent is. And it's making for some weird... Yeah, the mountains are the only things that are really sticking up now. The mountains look great. They do. But the amount of range this has means that we have to drop the ocean down. And not by a little bit, like by a lot of it. So... The ocean is currently pretty high up. But we have to find the bottom of what is the current continent. The lowest point of the continent is right about here. So if we drop down, what height is this? So we want to go like... So we're at 320, so let's go 300. Yeah, Unity, you're gonna not be very happy. So now we're just gonna go over to our terrain generator, set the water level to 300. And we're gonna see what this does. We have to do so much. Okay, what are we gonna have? Water, can we hit land, please? The water level is much lower now, so I'm hoping a continent. You can only say one of us if you're actually converting someone. Okay, so we got something going on here. So it looks like we have like either a bay or this is just bad. Is the ocean actually out here? No, we have a giant lake, which I'm not sure if I care that much about. That looks kind of cool. No, we don't. The problem is we don't want lakes like that. It's bad. Lakes like that are bad. I'm just worried that we aren't going to have any plains now. We have to stretch this out more. Those hills are way too intense, and the water level needs to go down. So how high is the water level here? Yeah, that's way too much. So we're gonna bring it down to... Let's do 280. Yep, you're gonna crash, that's fine. While you're loading, we will code. Okay, so we're going to bring the water level down to 280. And we're going to stretch out the... Okay, so we're going to stretch out Perlin. So let's bring it down to 4. Everything you do has a lot of effects, though, because we're multiplying everything by each other. It's not like I can just change these numbers and know what's going to happen. Okay, so we have our mountains. Do we have actual nice plains, though? Because I like the mountains and stuff. They look pretty cool, but we also need flat areas like we had before. The mountains look beautiful. That looks perfect. That's exactly the look I'm going for. But we should be able to find areas that are less mountainous. Which I guess we have, kind of. No, there's mountains everywhere. So how are we applying the mountains? We're just adding them. Which means that either the mountains are a little bit too... Or we could just be, like I said before, the code technically makes parts of the map more likely to have mountains. Now this does look pretty epic. I just don't want it to be everywhere like this. Those mountains do look awesome. I will admit it. That looks amazing. It's actually starting to look like real terrain, which is our goal. That is our goal. The textures are 32 by 32, at least at the moment. But I think I'm gonna keep them at that. I actually programmed a system to automatically build texture maps out of textures you put in a certain folder. It was a, very important system because it makes it so that there's no texture bleeding. Okay, it seems that there's just mountains everywhere. This is not what we want. Did I give the mountains a little bit too much power? See, before we were finding areas that didn't have them mountains, and I didn't really touch that, which is making me wonder why this is happening. This is quite interesting. Maybe there is, maybe over here there's less. Oh, you know what? The whole thing is being multiplied by up to 2. So then I should divide the entire thing by 2. Yeah, that's probably what I should do. Yep, we're gonna make some quick changes. Or I can increase the power that the... So the mountain, so the Perlin, mountain fine detail. Mountain detail is the one we want to mess with. So this is being scaled down to 0.5. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna clamp. We're gonna clamp it so that I can't make it more than 1. We're gonna double it, and we're gonna clamp it so that it can't be more than 1. So we're gonna do clamp, mountain detail times 2, 0, 1. So that means it won't make the mountains any taller, but it is able to make them smaller in areas, which should give it a little bit more power. Here we go. these mountains look a little bit less... I don't think this is actually mountains. I think this is just the ground, which it's got very good range. It's just kind of close together, so they look like mountains. Yeah, this is a little bit overkill for plains. I want it to range by this much in height. I just don't want it to be this close together, so we're gonna stretch it out a lot. We still have to keep an eye out for mountains because we have to make sure that we didn't like completely get rid of them. We only want them to be gone in the spots where there wasn't any noise for them. You can tell that this isn't the mountain shader because it doesn't have any fine detail. It's just kind of blobby. So let's go back here, and what we're going to do is on our Perlin, we're going to turn this down even more. We're going to turn it to 0.001. It's going to bring it to a point. Hopefully we'll see a mountain. I don't want to lose the beautiful. So here we go. This is pretty good. This will go up after we add fine detail. It'll look good. This is going to make the continents very... No, it won't, because we're not touching that. We're only touching the top layer of the continents. The question is, where are the mountains at? So we've got our gradual decline in height, because height is going to affect the biomes, so there needs to be some difference in height over time. Okay, so there's the ocean. So we can confirm there is ocean. If needed, we can raise the ocean level. If there's too much land and not enough ocean. But our problem at this moment is that we are not seeing any mountains, which is worrying. We may have to change this back to how it was before. Because I am not seeing anything. Okay, let's give a little bit of attention back here. For some reason clamp isn't actually coming up here, so let's times H mountain detail. If I do that separately, maybe it was just a glitch there. I don't think that would affect it, but I don't mess with graphics card programming much, so... Oh, geez. Well then. That did, we have really, broken what we had going there. That's fine. We'll just... We want to undo this, and we want to put this back to how it used to be. Okay, take 3. Come on, mountains. I believe in you. By clamping you down, I think. Okay, so we've got little hills. And the noise should make it that so that in some areas we have proper mountains. Please. We just have to scope out a mountain. If we can find a decently sized, good-looking mountain, I will be happy and call it a win. And we can see that there are massive changes in height over time. That over there is the ocean. So let's go inland. Wow, that's very flat right here. See, I like that. I want there to be areas that are flat, areas that are high up, low down. I want it to have a lot of range. And that's something that's really challenging to do. Because the scale we're building at is so large that, like, it takes 10 minutes to actually figure out if it worked. We may want to just restart and find, yeah, let's just find an area with a mountain. This is gonna be fun. Come on, spawn me on a mountain. Yes! Okay, that's a hill. That's quite a hill. Just show me a mountain. So we're getting to a more mountainy area. That's good. That's what we want. We have some hills. So this is, yes. Yes! Okay, so we have areas that are more mountainy. That's exactly what we needed. We have areas that are flat, we have areas that are mountainy, and we just have to add a layer of noise to the flat areas to make them not look terrible compared to the mountainy areas. Such is the beauty of noise. Okay. We could also do something that makes the mountains a bit bigger. It's a little bit risky, but we may want to look into it. It'll make the taller mountains taller and the small mountains smaller. It's called turning up the persistence. Let's look into it. So if we go here, which one's the persistence? Persistence is the last one, except it's not for ridged. Ridged acts differently. This is the persistence. So if we turn this up to 1.7, it's going to make them look a lot different. They're going to have sharper peaks. That's the ocean. Come on, land on some land. I like the fact that we landed on the ocean, though. That is a sign that the ocean works. Okay, so here we are. We've got some nice hills. We just have to make sure what we did worked, and the mountains are a little bit taller now. The real mountains, not these little lame hills. Okay, here we are. Here's some real mountains. Not really. This is a large hill, but it's not quite a mountain. We need to go higher. Okay, here's a mountain range. Still not super tall, which is slightly disappointing. We can just off the bat raise their height, but that's not a good thing to do. That causes them to look really triangular. And right now they look pretty good. The mountains. Not the ground, the mountains. We do have some work to do on the ground. So we can see the mountain ranges, how they go around like that. If we increase, it'll make it a little bit more. Yeah, we may do that. Maybe a good idea. Actually, we could use noise to get the function of... That would be an interesting thing to do. Okay, so this... I have a really weird idea here. This would make everything really cool. So we can make it so that the higher you are, the more... Okay. So the higher you are... So if we go to ridged, we can do the higher you are, the higher this. So we can add to it. And we can add H-Perlin to it. And what this will do is it'll make the noises depend on each other. But it'll make it so that the higher you go on the continents, the spikier the mountains get. I'm not sure how this will act. So we're starting at the bottom here. This is before normalizing, so it'll subtract until you're very high up. So as we go inland, we'll get some meh hills. Okay, maybe that wasn't a very good idea. I don't know, as we go up, I have no clue how to know if this is working or not, which is another slight issue. I mean, we can go up, but there's so many random factors working together. Yeah, this is not looking good. Let's undo that. Of course you're going to be annoying. Another thing is every world looks different, so if one thing looks good and then another doesn't, it may not be my fault. Yes, I should add fly mode. That's a great point. I've said that to myself about 18 million times. But the thing about jumping is I found that jumping forces me to go a bit slower. And if I go too fast, I can outrun the terrain generation. Like, it doesn't break the game, it'll catch up, but it looks kind of odd. I don't know. I'll probably add a fly mode in the future. Or a general turn off physics mode. So we've got some very lame stuff over here. Bring me back to mountains. I mean, I think we've proven that... Oh, geez, Unity. I think we've proven that the flatlands exist, so it's not all mountains. We just have to figure out the most important part. Okay. These aren't tall enough. I'm not liking the height of these mountains. They're boring. They look good, but they're kind of boring. I mean, of course, I may not just be in a very tall mountain area. So let's look around. Okay, I guess I can take that back a little bit. I mean, okay, maybe those are kind of tall. Okay, I want chat to tell me, are these mountains big and impressive enough, or do I need to do some work into making them bigger? And now, waiting for chat. I feel like they should be a little bit bigger. Honestly, I only have to change 2 numbers, so this shouldn't be too much work. The detail's alright. Oh, jeez. So what we'll do is we're gonna mess around a bit. We're going to, remember how I said that I can make it pointier? Well, I can also make it wider. So we're gonna do both. So if we go over here to ridged, here we are, we can make it wider. So we're gonna do that. But we're also gonna make it a lot pointier by doing 2.2, which should cancel each other out and just generally make them bigger. Okay, there's literally no mountains here, so come on. There we go. There's one. It's not the most impressive considering what we've done. Should have some better stuff. Come on, bring me to something good. Okay, so here they are now. They're, that didn't really change them that much. The mountainy areas are still mountainy. They're just not super tall mountains. That one's kind of tall. That one's hitting, how high is that? Why 120, why 144? That's compared to the ground though, so 64, 144. I don't know, I think I can do better than that. Widen them and make them a little bit taller. That's what I'm hearing. We're going to make proper mountain ranges. Okay, so this requires... I know the plains are too flat. We're fixing that next. We're getting the mountains all done first, because the mountains are easier to look at. Okay, so if we turn this in half and turn this up to 3, that's going to make them twice as wide and cube it instead of squaring it, which gives us I don't think these are wide enough. I think these actually need to be wider. Yeah. I mean, the height's looking a bit better, but they aren't really wide, which makes them look kind of odd just jutting out of the ground. Honestly, they should... Okay, so I know what I'm gonna do. We're going to actually get kind of ridiculous. So we're going to bring this up to 5. We're going to bring this down to 0, 5. They will have a smooth transition. I'm just not working on that quite yet. Well, kind of. They'll have a smooth, kind of. To an extent. We'll do our best. Those look kind of cool. They still aren't very wide. I feel like it should be more like... Shoot. No. That's not what we wanted. I'm just doing slight tweaks. I know what I want them to look like, it's just getting the numbers to do it right now. I'm not sure, did they look better before? Should I just undo everything I've done in the past 10 minutes? They seem to just be popping up in the wrong places now. This is interesting. Oh shoot, it's an island. It's very questionable if this actually looks good. You know, I think it was better before. Yeah, this is getting a little out of hand. I'm just changing it without any actual success. Let's... Is that all you remember, really? Shoot. Alright, this was 0.1, this was 1.7. I think that's everything I changed. Let's see. No mountains here. That's the ocean. No mountains here. Okay, I'm getting worried. I'm not seeing mountains. This is not okay. Oh, here we go. Here are some hills. Maybe I should add another pass just for really big mountains. Maybe this should be just the hill pass. Because these hills look great. They're just not quite what I want. Who thinks I should add another layer of noise for mountains? After I get the ground layer working, because this is so flat. Shoot, I've done something. This isn't right. This isn't right at all. What was that number on before? Was it on 2.2 instead of 1.7? I'm assuming it was 1.7, but I don't think it was 1.7. Yeah, I think it was way higher than that, actually. Hey. Okay, this is how they looked before. Yes. This looks good. You know, these look pretty mountainy. Maybe I was freaking out for no reason. This looks pretty darn good. I should probably be happy with these. These are, pretty good. So we're gonna do something fancy. We're gonna try one last thing. Let's just make sure that plains still exist and I haven't just gotten rid of actually all of the land other than mountains. Yes, okay. Good. Okay, so we're gonna do one last thing we're gonna try. So we do this times 1,000, so then we're gonna do... Before we do that, we're going to do... Okay, we're gonna get the whole thing. Why do we clamp this twice? That doesn't make much sense. Does that actually... Oh, shoot. Whoops. That doesn't actually do anything. Now it does. Let's hope that didn't break anything. Those numbers weren't right. And I realized they weren't right. They were very off from what they should have been. Uh-oh. Come on, mountains. Please show me mountains. Game, I will give you $1 if you show me mountains. Okay, we have an issue. I don't know what the issue is. Okay, so whatever we had going before was working. So I'm gonna undo what I just did. This doesn't actually do anything, so... Interesting. Here we go. There's the hills. So what we have to do is we have to get it normalized, and then we can square it. If we normalize it and then we square it, it should make it look better. So we're gonna do... divided by 1,000. Right. And then if we square this, this is going to do something interesting. Oh, not square it. The exact opposite of squaring, actually. Pow. Then we just have to do 2. So this puts it to the second power, which makes it more... Well, we'll see in a second. Not there. We'll see it somewhere in a second. Not there. Oh, I am dumb. Whoops. Whoops. We should probably actually multiply it back to where it was before. That actually makes a lot of sense why that wasn't working. I do not blame the game for freaking out there. That makes sense. Okay. So, let's see. This should make things very interesting. I just need a mountain to prove my theory. That's no mountain. Putting it to the power of 2 should have done cool things, but I'm starting to lose hope. Why can we not find anything? Am I just getting really unlucky? Because we should be finding something. I didn't change anything that should break it completely. Well, in the next few tries, I'm going to assume that I did completely break something. Oh, wait. We have something here. But why is it actually, like, so small? I just put it to the 2nd power. It should be insanely large now. It's doing the exact opposite of intended. Okay, so we're gonna undo everything we just did. Oh, that is that. Okay, so each ridge equals each ridge times 1,000. Huh. You know what? I'm gonna do it back here. Before we add the detail. We don't need to stretch out the detail anyways, so maybe, just maybe. There we go. So this should give us should make the bases of the mountains a little bit wider and the tops a little bit pointier. In theory. Oh, geez. Let's try something interesting. This is probably going to break actually everything, but just for the sake of science. This may actually look better. Huh. You know what? Maybe this worked. Is that the ocean out there? I think that is. Oh, look, we have like a little bit sticking out into the ocean. But what I want to see is the mountains with this, because I just did something fairly interesting, But it was to affect the mountains, but it appears that it's doing everything. And I understand why it's affecting everything. Okay, so we've got no mountains here. And here we have cool looking tall mountains. That are actually going through the ocean, giving it a little bit of character. I just have to make sure that this doesn't make it more powerful than the... That's a lake. So that's the edge of the continent. We've got bits sticking out. I don't know, this looks pretty good. As long as there's actual, like, flat area, too. And then we can mess with the flat area a bit. Oh, look at that mountain. That one's even taller. And that one is even taller. So we have an actual mountain range now. These are actually impressive. Let's check the player's height so that we know how high up we're going. 400-ish. 350. That's a full 10 above here. So 350. Then we can jump down. 200. That's a really tall one. We just have to make sure that there's also plains. The whole goal here is to have mountains and flat areas on the continents, and both have to look good. We have the added benefit here of actually having lakes. The problem is the power that these mountains have. Letting them go negative is really, really dangerous because it creates basically 100% mountains because they control everything. But previously, this water is an issue. We can lower the water level though, which may solve it. We just have to find the land, like the non-bumpy land. It seems to be getting less bumpy over here. Maybe not. It seems like just like this entire... Huh. I'm fine lowering the ocean. That's an easy change. I just need to make sure that there's actual, like, flat. Yeah, there is. Okay. That's not really flat, though. Oh, I guess it is. I guess how flat is land, actually, in nature? This is pretty flat considering. But we should honestly lower the water level by like 10. Oh, now we're running into a huge problem. Shoot. Are there actually still oceans? Or have we just completely murdered that? We have to make sure that there are actual oceans still in the game. Because we have these nice lakes, which I'm going to get rid of. But the oceans are kind of important. Come on. Okay, we're in trouble. By lowering the ocean, if all we can land on now is land, we're going to have a lot of issues. Oh my mountain. That is the biggest one I've seen. Okay. Wow, this is real mountain. The problem is now the mountains are basically... Oh, ocean! There's some land over here. But it seems to be flat land. Actual flat land that isn't all mountain. Some hills. Some messy areas. So we're going to modify how this works. We're going to allow the mountains to lower the ground, but we're going to clamp them to only lowering it by like 20. Because it gets ridiculous after that. So let's see. Bam, reload solution, or maybe 50. I don't know. Let's see. So we're gonna clamp. Oh wait, this doesn't even do anything because I didn't say equals. So we're not even going to mess with that. H ridged equals clamp. H ridged. And then the bottom is going to be -20, and then the top is going to be 5,000. Mountains are never going to get that high, but... Okay, so we've got ocean. That's good. Ocean should be a thing. Got more ocean. Here's land. I am very happy that the ocean exists again. Okay, so we're having a problem. This is just a bunch of mountains sticking out of the ocean. I guess parts of the ocean can have the really high mountains, and there's not much you can do about that. There are underwater mountains, so let's just make sure there are still proper continents somewhere. Aha! There's a proper continent. We've got mountains, but we have to make sure there's also plains. So we have to travel across the continent. There's the ocean, or maybe a lake. Hopefully the ocean. I don't want lakes. Lakes are a sign that we aren't doing very well. Oh, it's a really big lake. Oh, come on. I don't think I've seen flat ground. That is very bad. Okay, never mind. It's reconnected. My concern is I'm going to have to lower the water level, and if I lower the water level, we get problems, but the water level's too high, so whatever. We're gonna lower it. We'll see what happens. Bad things happen, we will deal with it. So we're gonna do that. That's gonna really lower it. I can do things that make... Really? There's no way. At 250? Okay, so we have to really think about what we're doing now. We have an issue, which is that the continent isn't really doing much anymore. We used to have very well-defined continents. That does not exist. How much am I letting these mountains go down? Wow. See, the mountains are creating problems for us now. I think we have actually reached a point that has a bit of emptiness. Okay, good. Maybe not. As the mountains get bigger, it makes the ocean a little bit less working, but we can solve these problems. So we're gonna shrink continents. We have to do two things here. We have to shrink continents, which is done here with this. So we're gonna make them 3 times smaller, and then we're going to give them a little bit more punch, which would be amplitude. So 1, 2, 3 down. So if we go 1, 2, 3, we're going to turn this to 4. This is gonna push everything a bit higher and lower, which is going to make the oceans deeper, the continents higher. So now we should see... So we got land, but there should also be well-defined oceans. How am I? 2. There's some water. Is this one of our well-defined oceans? This is one of our well-defined oceans. Okay. So that means that this is somewhat... No. Nope. Maybe not. Actually, maybe yes. Maybe these are... Oh, you can see these are the continents. They cut off so sharp here. So no, that's not a valid solution. Which means that... Which part wasn't good? Okay, we have to think about what we want here. Don't forget to like the stream. Which is basically me slowly going insane, messing with this. 8 octaves, none of those. 1 for frequency. The amplitude is currently 3. Was it 3 before though? Or did I turn it off? How do I get across infinity? 1 second. Oh, we can just do max. Max instead of clamp is probably going to solve a few problems for us. Oh, shoot. No, we want a clamp. But we want this to actually be 0. But in its place, we'll do negative 9, 999, 999, 999. No one will ever go that far, so it's okay. Shoot, we actually have a problem. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm not fully thinking it through, but if it needs to be that for it to work, then fine. Okay, so we squeezed everything together, which means that we're going to have very interesting... Huh. Why is there just a circle in the middle there? That's actually very random. Unity, why? Whew. So much trial and error. It's probably gonna take me a week to find what I like. This is just, it's so much, things change so much by these little values. Okay, so we have some plains. But where's our darn mountains? Have we permanently broken our mountains? We've got our plains, we've got the height difference. But where is our mountains and is there ocean? If we can solve those two questions. There's the mountains, so plains do exist. Okay. Yeah. So we have mountainous areas, then we have plains areas. That's good. What's the difference in height between them? This is 311 and such. Okay, fine. That's fine. And then is this the plains? Yes. Flatness. Ish. And there's the ocean. We just have to make sure there's flatness somewhere. And that's actually the ocean. And it's not just a huge lake. That looks like an ocean. Oh shoot. It may just be a giant lake. In which case we're going to... So this is complicated because if we lower the water level, it gets rid of the annoying lakes. But if we raise the water level, the answer may be to just make the continents higher and wider. Maybe this is working fine and I'm just nitpicking. Like, this is pretty flat here. The ocean seems to actually be an ocean. We have our cliffs leading down to the ocean. We've got a bit of, like, meh modification to the main ground. We have mountains in some areas. It goes up and down. Is it good? I honestly can't tell. I've been looking at too many blocks. So many blocks. This is probably actually good. I think I am actually good. Okay. I think I've done it. I think this may be enough. This may be enough to work. At times, it's not very pretty. And at times, it's kind of confusing. But I think this noise algorithm may be enough. We're just tracing out the continent here. Okay, so I think we're good. I think this is gonna work. Looking at the land, it looks good. It has nice detail to it. It gets mountainous at times, and it gets flat at times. It has everything we need to continue. So we're gonna stop this. I am now confident in what we have here. I think it's enough. We're gonna restart Unity and we're going to add another block. And we're gonna do two things. We're going to create a graph to start. Actually, maybe I should get water working first. Probably a good idea. So we're gonna do a block first. So we're gonna do create script block sand. Just because I want the beaches to look nice. So we're going to grab the code for another block. The closest block to it. No, not block spike. That would be block dirt is the closest to it. So what was the last ID we used? Block water was the last one, which we're using ID 8. So now we just have to go to block sand and set it to just do a quick copy and paste. Block sand, this is going to be ID 9. Get name is going to be sand. Strength is going to be 2. Normal rendering, shovel for harvesting. It is opaque. The name is sand, and that texture wraps around every direction. There we go. Not yet done. We just have to go to our block types script and just add public static block sand block sand equals new block sand, then just add it to the end of the list. And that's all. Now we have a new block. Now we just need to make a texture for it. Gotta be artistic or just creative. We can do this in two ways. I make textures in two ways, which is either go off of something real or just try, and that usually ends out worse. So let's see what I can do. If we do 32 by 32, zoom in a bit. Let's see, sand. Now we scale it down this much. Usually we can't really keep anything, but we're just gonna see for fun if we can make some. Nah, that looks like the color is right, but no. Maybe. I don't know. That might actually work. I mean, it's sand. We're just going to stick with it because I'm not going to spend 8 years on this. We're just going to call it sand. Snad. Sand.png. Bam. Okay, so now we're going to go into our resources, textures, blocks, sand, bam. We're gonna make it read write enabled, not generate bitmaps, clamp, and we're gonna have a point no filter. Now we just have to make it generate it in the world, which is the next fun part. We just have to plop up to code, chunk, terrain gen. Okay, so now we have the water level, and we're gonna do if height equals base height. Okay, so that's not really what we want, but The first layer, if height is less than water level plus 2 and height is greater than water level minus 2 we're just going to copy this, save a bit of typing time, and then this is block sand. So if it's, oh shoot, no, that's not what we want to do at all. Kind of. That's kind of what we want to do. But we also want height. So instead of this, we want to put this in here actually. That's what I was originally going to do. Oh shoot, no, we need 2 layers for this. This is more complicated. So then we have to do if it's also the base height. Else. And we can do, I think that'll work in that order. Let's see. Actually, why did I put that in twice? That doesn't even make sense. Okay. That's duh. Duh. Very smart. Very smart. Thank you very much. Oh, jeez. We're gonna undo all of this. I see my mistake here. Okay, so we're going to, so if the height is equal to the base height, and if the height is less than water level plus, we'll make it go up 4. Then we do this sand, else we do this. There we go. That's gonna work much better. I promise. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, we replaced all of the water with sand. That was a slight issue. Okay, now we have to find a beach. Let's go. Exciting beach scouting. Searching for a beach. Okay, this is going to take forever to find. I think you might want to look into alternative means, such as just restarting it and hoping that we land by the coast. Land by the coast. Or we can just find a coast. That works too. Yeah! Look at that. Beautiful coast. It's sand. We have sandy shores. Look at that. Not super impressive. But should also be faster to dig. Slightly. So that versus, yeah, that is much faster. Oh, shoot. That is not giving us the right item. So that means that I have to fix a bug somewhere. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with fixing a bug. Bring it on. We will fix that momentarily. Not actually. I think we're getting towards the end of this episode of generating a game. Because we've got World Gen kind of down. Well, you can't tell what the terrain's going to be until you check what the terrain's going to be. I may make it so that, it tries to spawn you in one location, and then if it's in the middle of the ocean, it'll try another one, and it'll keep trying until it finds one that's land. But you know what? We have a slight difference now. It's not all just grass. We have terrain generation that looks pretty good. I mean, it needs work, but for starters, 1 day in, it's not bad. We have coastlines. Obviously, the water is never actually going to reach this high, so it doesn't make sense why the sand is this high. But, you know, that's fine. That is fine. We are on track. We are on track. One thing at a time. But overall, this is something. It's a start. I mean, we don't yet have rockets in space and vehicles, but we're getting slightly closer. Slightly closer. Vehicles are going to be complicated because they need to be able to drive through blocks. Since blocks aren't smooth, could make it so that blocks are smooth. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother. But yes, the water is solid. That's actually the next thing I'm working on. Probably off stream because I'm gonna pull out my hair. Well, I have to fix the bug with the item first. Actually, we can do a little bit of debugging in game. I put a debug button onto middle mouse. Okay, so let's see. If I middle click on the sand, bam. Okay, let's see. It knows ID 9, name sand, texture position 1, 3. So it's saying it's the correct block, which means that it's an array issue I'm having. I'm not going to bother with that right now because that's going to be very, very annoying to fix. But thank you guys for watching. We are getting somewhere, very rudimentary, but this looks like a whole lot more than it looked like yesterday. So I will see you all next time. If I quickly hit the... Oh, Unity crashed for us too. Thank you, Unity. Great to see you crash at the right time. Bye.